Hello, everybody. This is Charlie Newton from Splash Youth Arts Workshop. I'm your teaching artist for today, and I'm so glad to be here. I would just want to share a project with you and over the next couple of classes on drawing, and we're going to use drawing pencils, and we're going to draw my favorite instrument, which is the conga drum. I'm not a musician, but I have this drum, and and this drum means a lot to me. I've had this drum since the mid 70s, maybe 1972 or 73. And so hopefully there will be some meaning with this drawing. So let's get started. So here you can see that I have already started a sketch, and I've used my HB pencil. And what I want to do is show you a close-up so that I want to show you what you need to look at. So I'm going to get a sheet of paper. And the first thing I want you to look at is the contour. Now, contour drawing is basically a drawing of the outline of the object. So what I'm looking at when I'm drawing, I'm just using a 6B pencil. You can use any type of pencil that you want to. You can get a sheet of paper and a pencil. So a contour, I'm going to imagine that, if you will, that I'm as small as an ant. And so I'm training my eye by using a contour drawing. Contour drawing, you try not to look at the paper. So I'm going to do a contour drawing of this drum, the detail of this drum. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm just going to go up. I'm going fast because we don't have a lot of time. So you can see this is the ring around the rim of the drum. Now this is the drum head. So right now I'm not looking at my paper at all. You can go backwards for the contour if you want to. You're just training your eye. Okay, so the challenge in doing a contour drawing is to not look at the paper. But I want to show you that process, and we will be doing contour drawings in the future. So what I'm doing now, I have the picture on my phone, and I'm going to find it on my phone and everything. So when I'm sketching this thing, I'm really slowing my eye down in order to do a contour. Also, we want to see the gesture. The gesture is basically, it's something that's done fast. You barely look at the paper, and you draw what the object or the person is doing. It's the feel of the object. Now, the gesture is a more loose drawing. That's the gesture. So when looking at this object, I'm putting these two things, the gesture and the contour, together. Gesture drawing and the contour. Did you see how could you see the difference in these two drawings? With both of these drawings, I'm not emotionally attached to them. It's just an investigation, and I'm asking myself, what is it that I see? The gesture has more feeling. The gesture has more feeling, and the contour in the end is going to have more detail. So I got to this stage by doing a gesture and a contour. Let me demonstrate that. Now, I'd used a very hard lead pencil to get to this stage, but just to demonstrate, I'm lightly touching the paper. I'm looking at the picture, and make sure that you look at the picture more than you do the paper, or if it's a real life object. So can you see the gesture? This is contour, but my pencil lightly touches the paper, so it's a sketch. But I'm going to need these details, so I have to slow my eye down to find these details. For instance, this rim sticks out from here. I'm going to show you some more tricks later on. But I think for the first few classes, we're going to focus on drawing, so that when we get to painting, you will have more arrows in your quiver. So you can see the gesture, but hopefully you can see the contour, See, this, I'm looking at this as a contour now, but then since this is a sketch, I'm using gesture. Now, when I did my first gesture drawing, which is very loose, I'm not paying close attention to where this ring is. The ring is probably right in here somewhere, or the head of the drum is probably there and here. And then there's a little lip where the ring has been tightened over the skin, right there somewhere. I'm approximating everything. But when you start doing the contour, you notice that the top part of the head of the drum is here, and here's the ring. But the wooden part, the base, the wooden drum itself, there's some space here. It's not, this line is not directly underneath that line. And this is what you miss when you first look at something. Just look, I'm just going to shade in this negative space here. Negative space is, you can think of it as the background, not the object itself. So this space here, now I didn't put the clamps on, but I just want you to see. That's what makes this drawing. That's what's going to make it more interesting. Because it's, remember, it's an investigation. You know, what is it that I actually see? So this sketch was done with an HB pencil. Now I'm going to switch to another pencil. Now this, these classes, these two classes are going to be more of a demonstration. I just want you to see the possibilities. So now I'm going to get another pencil, maybe a 2B. Maybe a 2B. This is like the regular pencil that you would have in school, that you would use. Sharpen it. And I'm just going to start somewhere, start drawing. What interests me about this are the lights and darks. So I put my napkin here, or you could put a sheet of paper there. And you can start drawing. So the lines I use are going to be very important. So this is a fast line. The back of this curvature, circle, if you will, I'm using a very thin line, and I want the eye to travel around there really fast. And and that's why the line is so thin. As I'm drawing this, I'm going to go in and start doing some cross hatching for shades, some hatch marks. For the beginner, a hatch mark is just basically some lines lined up like that, close together. Cross hatching is what I did here. Is when you go back in a different direction, make some lines. We're not going to smear the picture in order to shade. We're not going to rub it, okay? You can do that later on with a stump, but for these classes right now, let's experiment with trying to draw the shades. Now, this drum is very dirty. This 2B pencil is a little bit too dark for me right now, so I'm going to put it here, lay it to the side. I'll go back to it. I'm going to try to find a lighter pencil. This is a B pencil. I like these pencils because it's easy to read. Some of my pencils I can't see. Like this side is so shiny I can't see. It's fancy, but this side is easy to see. So I don't think maybe I've cleaned this drum head once over all these years. You really should clean a drum. I'm not a musician, so I didn't know that. But I know it now. I bought some more drums and I decided to find out, how to care for the drum. And it looks like in this area here, it looks like I wasted some. I don't drink coffee. During those years, I drank a lot of Coke, so maybe I wasted a Coke. You can see right in this area here, this line here, you see the edge or the rim of the wooden drum underneath the skin. Then here you can see sort of like the top of it, how it rounds off. It's sort of like a double line. I'm going to put in only what I've deemed necessary to tell this story. For me, I have an emotional connection to this drum. One day while at school, at the university, I was listening to some music during my break between classes. I think I was listening to the radio, a station I don't normally listen to. And all of a sudden this African music came on. And it did something to my spirit. I had to move, I wanted to dance. But it was alien to me. It's probably in 1972, 73. But as an artist and as a young person, young black person, I was looking for, something to identify who I was. And that happens when you're a teenager. And this music, it was fascinating. It was awesome. So I found out who the musicians were, and I collected the albums. We had albums back then. And And when I say albums, I mean wax. We had wax back then. And so I love to go to the music store. Every weekend I would go to the music store, either Saturday or maybe even Friday. If I got out of school, I would go to the music store and listen to music that I've never heard before, new music. And when I heard that music, I wanted to play the drum. Now, if you look at the photograph, there's a slight shade on the top of the drum, which I've just decided I'm going to place on this drum. I need a very hard pencil, and the pencils that I'm using, I'm keeping them out because if I put it back in the case, I may forget which one I was using. So I think I may either get a 2H. I think I'm going to use a 2H. And I just figured out which pencil is missing, and that's my H pencil. But I'll use the 2H. I'm going to try not to use this point. You can actually use a sandpaper pad to sand off the point like this, one of these pads, and you can put different wedges or different types of points on your pencil. I just don't want a sharp point. I want to use the side of my pencil. So I put a slight wedge. I'm going to hold my pencil like this between my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to touch the paper as lightly as possible. I need to get the residue off of my pencil. I want to put a light shade on this pencil, on this, I'm sorry, on this paper. But some areas, since this is a dark and dirty skin, I want to show that. It shows the years. Many times I would take my drum, go to a lake or something, go out somewhere by myself, and just play the drums. Even though I'm not I'm not a musician, so I play at the drums. Now, what I'll end up doing later on, I'm going to end up probably using my kneaded eraser to go back and put highlights in. And that would probably be one of the last things that I do. I could do it now. I want to do it now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try to resist. So I think that the drum head is maybe it's going to end up being the focal point. What I mean, I want to sort of speak some type of language using this drum head. Now I'm going to indicate silver by shading it in, shading this ring, this metal ring. I'm going from light to dark. It's easier to go from light to dark than to go from dark to light. And I can see a lot of changes that I want to make. For instance, this little area here, I want this to come up a little higher. Top of that hook. Now, the hard thing, the difficult thing, is to be expressive with your art when you are drawing or painting. And I'm resisting using a ruler for straight lines, so that helps with the expression, the feeling. I don't want to use any mechanical aids, and that will help with the feeling of the expression that I'm trying to convey. You'll find, as I do, that when you work on something more than one day, when you go back to it, you're going to see things that you should have done, changes that you want to make. And that's what I'm doing now. That's why that double line here. Now, the hard thing is not to know that your drawing don't have to look exactly like the picture. You know, you're not trying to express the picture, you're trying to express something else. So try to stay loose with your drawing and make changes as you see fit. So I'm using a 2H pencil again. I'm back to the 2H. So I'm pulling more out of this 2H pencil. And the reason why is I believe it's safer. Rome was not built in a day, and neither is a drawing. So I'm not in a hurry to finish this. So I have my 2H pencil here, and I'm just focusing on the metal ring of this drum now. And so here's a little secret. For metal, it's so smooth. So if you do straight lines, these are hatch marks I'm just going to put together. I use my paper towel to keep my hand off the paper so that I can keep the paper as clean as possible. I'm using a hard lead for this. And I'm going to go back over this with a darker pencil pretty soon. But these straight lines will make you think of a hard, smooth surface. I don't need this wide mark here, so I'm going to clean that up. Remember to take your time when you're drawing. And there's no rush unless, of course, you're in a class. So now I'm just going to shade the entire thing in using the side of my pencil. What I do personally, my practice is to set the picture up for the final act. I just noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. There is a shadow that's being cast on the drum. I'm going to shade that in. It's going to now, my work is very loose in nature, and every artist will have their own way of doing things. What I'm trying to do is separate myself from the picture now, because it's a drum. Everybody can see, anybody can see this is a drum. So now what I'm trying to do is express myself using line and graphite. You see I'm cross-hatching now. This is probably going to get darker and darker, but I'm working it up slowly. I still don't know how much detail I'm going to put in on this drum, but I'm getting close to enough. When I go back with a darker pencil, I'm going to leave paper as highlights. But what I'm focused on now are the gray areas. I don't want this drawing to be so clean that it looks like, I don't want it to be pristine. So I sort of like the look of lines and sketch marks. So knowing what to leave and what to do away with is very important at this stage. Like there's some lines going across here that I'll get rid of. Some lines just get in the way. I don't need those. Lines I don't need, I get rid of for the most part. Not all of them though, because there's something about the sketch that I really like. A sketch, there's something about the idea of a sketch that I really like. So I believe I can go to a softer lead now. You see, I'm trying to elect how much detail to put in to this picture. Trying to decide what would make it look more interesting to me. So, okay. And I think I decided that I was going to have more detail on the left-hand side, which the left-hand side naturally carries more weight. Okay. Now I'm going to go to a heavier pencil. I think I'll go to either a 3B, softer lead, pencil 3B, excuse me, and see what this does. So my interest is more on the head of the drum. That's a nice line. I always let the art tell me what to do. Make sure that if you're drawing from a photograph, make sure that the photograph is close enough to you and that it has good light on it. Because of the lights that we have in the studio, I have to have this photograph in front of me. Normally it would be off to the side, but because of the lighting, the studio lighting. And now I'm using cross-hatching for the shadows. I turn to the edge of my point on this pencil to make these lines. I want the lines to vary. Not to be all, I don't want them to be all the same. I'm going to sharpen this pencil so that I have more control of the point. I bumped that camera. My wife, Iantha Newton, is behind the camera, and she's doing all the switching and the videography and the storytelling. She's doing all of the production work. I want to say thank you to her for that. She also lets me know when I lose it, when I'm moving the picture around too much or whatever. Okay, so now it's getting interesting, and it's beginning to have a little fun here. This 3B pencil has a nice little range to it. I can go dark or I can go light. The value of drawing small, you can turn your paper. Use whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to get the job done. Now, if I wanted my picture to look like a photograph, I would just snap a photograph. I want the picture to look like a drawing. So it's so easy to get fixated on details that don't matter. So try to avoid that. So you have, just pay attention to what your mind is thinking. I just noticed that this little bit I'm drawing here is a bit of the skin that's turned up inside this rim here. I hadn't noticed that before. So the more you look, the more you see. You don't always see everything before you start drawing. You usually see more during the act of drawing. And the viewer sees more and begin to interpret what you're doing based on what you decide to show them. I doubled that line. I just want this drum to look like, okay, this ring is really tight. Now I'm going to double this line a little bit to show that there's some pressure here. I'm using the point of my pencil, making that darker. I'm not digging into the paper. Do not dig into the paper because that ruins your drawing. It's better just to draw over a line. Now right off I see that I need to vary my line more for expression. So this side looks pretty good, how this line sort of disappears. I'm going to pick it back up here. Last class I mentioned gesture. I'm going to make this line heavy here. See, this line is wider and heavier than that one. So what happens is, it's like time. You can, when you're drawing, you can come in on time and you can guide the eye around your drawing. And I think that this is what happens when you vary the line, going from thick to thin, back to thick. Now, I'm going to darken some of these shades using my 3B pencil. At this stage, go with your guts. Go with your gut feeling. For me personally, the skin of the drum is what speaks to me. So I'm drawing all the stains and the dirt. And I need to move on. You can always go back to something. You cannot draw a thin line. It's difficult to draw a thin line slow. So I'm not going to draw everything. I'm not going to draw all the details because you don't need to. I don't need to. So I'm setting this picture up for the coup de grace. You hear me say that a lot. So it's, for me, drawing or painting, making art, is sort of like all of the arts combined. So it's this this is like a little play or performance, and I'm just trying to get things ready for the final curtain. And if it was music, I would be building to a climax. If it's a play, if it's theater, I'm building for the coup de grace. The final act. I went and got my B pencil to make these gray shades. Then I'm going to go back. So this is a good time. This would be a good time for you to really don't refer too much. You have to look at the photograph, but just to know where everything belongs and to see what the light is doing. But let the drawing tell you the type of lines to make. The drawing itself, you're drawing what you already have here. You've already have a setup here. You are already making some type of statement about how you see things. And personally, that's what I like about art, that I can express myself my way. What about you? Is that what you like about art too? You're doing it your way. So in these classes, I'm showing you a way, not the way. Just something. This is just something to hang your hat on, and you're going to create your own techniques eventually. And some of you already have. Sometimes we'll talk about the principles so that, for instance, we know now this has several light sources, but we know the top of this drum head is receiving more light than the sides. For me, the shadows now are going to be so important, and the dark lines are so important now. I want to keep a point on my soft lead pencil. Do not dig into the paper. If you want to make your lines darker, remember, just go to a darker pencil, a softer lead, to do that. Now, I'm getting close to finishing because I want this drawing to remain in a sketch-like format. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to a much darker pencil. Now, this is a 3B. I'm going to go to a 5B. Sharpen it. Remember, we've set this thing up. We've set the picture up for the final blow. Coup de grace basically means final blow. I'm going back with the darks in certain areas, not everywhere, to try to express something my way of seeing. When I was in London, I saw some Michelangelo's cartoons, and when I say cartoon, I mean sketches for his paintings. A cartoon is what the artist would use as a pattern for the final uh, mural, if you will. Okay. Okay. And a lot of the cartoons look like this. They were like studies. They're not cartoons the way we think of them, but they are patterns for the final product. So I saw his cartoons for his fresco, and I've been influenced by that. Now, that's going to be the drawing. That's going to be the drawing. This is going to be the drawing. I'm going to wait, and to end it, you just do something like that. Then you can sign it. You know, there's some wood patterns that kind of go like this, and that's fine. But I'm not that interested in it. But I think we can see that this is the conga drum. I did not need to go back with my eraser. What do you think? This has been Charlie Newton. It has been fun once again. I can't wait till the next class. So glad that you decided to join us. Remember, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.